Hey there, it's been a while since I filmed a video. I needed to get away from civilization. I want to get back to what I was doing before and maybe try a few new things. So today I'm going to go on an overnight camping trip out in some public land out here in Pennsylvania and see what I can get myself up to. A little confused here. This is usually a little flowing creek. We've had a bunch of rain lately, but it's not flowing down here. I think I can hear it up there somewhere. So I'm gonna go explore a little bit, see what I can find. Well, I guess I won't be going that way to see if there's running water further up. No trespassing. Okay, well, I'll keep going up the trail, see if I can find another spot to branch off. I have plenty of water with me, just going on an overnight. It's nothing crazy. So, let's see what we can do. Pardon my heavy breathing. Haven't been doing enough exercise lately. But even though I might be sucking air, I can still hike like this forever. Not that I'm going very far, it's a fairly short trail that connects to another trail. But one of the reasons I chose this spot is I have never seen another human being on this trail. I've hiked it numerous times, and not once have I encountered another person, either in the parking area or on the trail itself. Finally having some privacy. And I don't mind, running into other hikers on a trail when I'm just hiking. But if I'm gonna be doing a little bit of stealth camping out in the woods, I don't want to choose a high traffic area. But although it's got some elevation gain, this turns into a pretty easy trail. There's some really cool spots ahead. Big rock formations and stuff like that near the top of the ridge. Maybe that's where I'll set up. Clearly I wasn't the first person to have an idea about building a little fort out here. Well, this looks like it's been here for years. Probably just kids having fun. But mine's gonna be a lot better hidden than that. And probably smaller. I've been fortunate. This has been an unseasonably cold day, which means it's only in the 70s right now. Early August in PA, it was 90, 96, 97 yesterday with a ton of humidity. Stays like that make me miss Alaska more than ever. But even though it is almost 20 degrees cooler today, I'm already sweating. Okay, let's keep moving. And this is why I treated my clothes with permethrin. A number of times I've walked this trail, got a bunch of ticks on my clothes. Unfathomable. But I can tell you that you get your dog on a good flea and tick medicine, it absolutely works. Because I hiked this trail in peak tick season with 2 dogs, and in the parking lot, as I was checking them for ticks, There must have been 20 or 30 ticks on each dog just crawling off and dying because it came in contact with the oils on the skin. Hi, bird. Anyway, a good flea and tick is worth it. I just wish they made it for humans. I would eat it in a heartbeat. Found a trail neighbor. I don't know where he went. There's a big old gray squirrel just crossed the trail in front of me. But he's lucky for two reasons. One, it's not hunting season. And two, I brought plenty of food with me. Otherwise it'd be a snack. Let me find something like that, but at least like 3 times bigger. This has been here as long as I can remember, at least for the last 3 years that I've been hiking this trail. I think it might have been to pull up like some trail marker signs and things like that, but yeah, as if anyone's gonna pull this out another mile back down this ridge for a cart. It's secure, whoever put it there. One major thing that's really lost through video format is the smell. I have escaped the choking, cloying stench of cow manure and chicken farms. Now I just smell the earth. Loamy, beautiful soil, mushrooms. It's easier to breathe, even though it's harder to breathe from hiking. And I can almost no longer hear the cars anymore. This trail's not long. It's only about 1.5 miles. It's not very technical. It's a pretty well-worn path. But there are almost no switchbacks. Whew. And the elevation gain is fairly steep. But we're nearing the top, where all the cool rock formations are, and then I'll find a little hidey hole to get out of sight and out of mind. And this is how you know you're approaching the top. There's actual grass. And these thick vines everywhere, triangle-shaped leaves. I'm not sure what it is, I'm just glad it's not poison ivy. But it is crawling over everything. I don't think it's Virginia creeper, but I'm not really sure. I really don't know the plants as well in Pennsylvania as I did up in Alaska. Pretty much most of what I know is if it's got thorns, stay away. I know poison ivy, poison oak. I know raspberries and walnuts. But here we are, almost to the top. Let me hide that trail sign so you can't see it. And we've hit the top of the ridge. So now, time to find a little hideaway. Usually when I just hike up to the summit and relax and turn around and go home just on a day hike, this is where I like to stop. It's a nice little overhang, rocky field, beautiful view down the hillside. And this right here would be an awesome little overnight shelter with a little bit of improvement. but it's right too close to the trail. I'm not sure I want to risk that. So I'm gonna walk around for a while. If I don't find anything better, I might come to this spot. Like I said before, I've never seen another person on this trail, so I'm not too concerned, but I do want to be careful. Little notebook in there to mark your journey. I've signed that before. Not today. It's really wet out here today. So my pants are soaked, shirt is soaked, but not because it's rained, just because of early morning rain and temperatures too cool to dry it off. Welcome to Jurassic Park. So back that way, the rock formations start to taper out. Just a couple little boulders. They're nice boulders, but just a couple little boulders. I'm looking for more of a little hidey hole to hide myself. So I'm gonna head back the other direction on the ridgeline, see what's over there. I also happen to have an excellent sense of direction if I did get off this trail. Like, I know that way's home. I know that way's inhospitable land until you come to a town in the valley. Full of broken legs and shattered dreams, I'm sure. But one thing that really helps me when I'm in an unfamiliar place or I don't have a compass is orienting off of uphill. So if I sneak back down to the trail I came up on, that way is uphill to me. That way is the way I came from. So instead of thinking north, south, east, or west, I'm thinking up, down, right, left. Now if I'm facing downhill, that doesn't turn to left. That's still right, because I'm oriented up. That way is right. That way is still right. Maybe a little confusing, but it's something that helps me, because I didn't bring a compass. I don't need one. I'm not too far from home. There are well-marked trails. But if I go downhill that way at any point along this ridgeline, I will find a road. You couldn't live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me. So I did see a neat little spot, somewhat hidden from the trail, but not accessible from the top of the trail, because it's very, very steep and rocky. And although I do have cell service at the top of the ridgeline, even if someone were to come and try and get me, it would take them maybe an hour or two, if they knew where to go. But I want to get off the trail just far enough that if someone passes by, they won't see, hear, or smell me. So I want to go down this way. But based off of what I was just saying about orienting yourself to directions, if I go down this side of the summit of the ridge, that is now up. Left, right, and down. Pretty much mirrored from the other side. But now I know if I go down that way, instead of knowing that I'll hit a road and be able to find somewhere I'm familiar with, down, oh, really? Down is now the unknown. Like, I've seen in the fall when the leaves are off the trees, I have seen a town down that way, but I have no idea what's between me and there. I can hear a dog barking though. If I was lost down there, I'd follow the sound of that barking. I don't know if the camera picks it up. But anyway, down is now the danger zone. Up is to safety. So at any point, still recording? Hello? No, screen blacked out. So if at any point there's an emergency, I hurt myself, I get bit by something, up is the way to go until I hit this ridge line. The trail that follows this ridge line goes hundreds of miles, I think at least 200 miles. I'm not certain on that, but because I'm trying to be stealthy out here, I'm not going to say the trail name, but it connects to a very well-known trail, well-traveled trail, one that is a very famous trail, but I've never heard anyone outside of locals refer to this one that I'm on. That being said, it's hard to see on here. There's a big old pile of rocks over there. So maybe further down, I can find a little cave to shove myself into. Hardest part of using the head cam is making sure I got the angle right. Gotta do a little test footage, do a little dance. Whew. I've not even been out here 2 hours. I'm already going crazy. Or already was. I don't know. All right, let's get to it. The footage is a lot more treacherous down here. So, go nice and slow, take my time. And avoid the spiky plants. Or I guess push through the spiky plants because they're everywhere. Man, these rocks are slick. So many little cracks and crevices that a little snake could be hiding in. Need to be extra careful. Whoa! Starting now. Well, this mostly flat rock looks like it would be good. I cleared the brush off. However, there's nothing high enough up above it to put my poncho on for a little overhead rain cover. And even though it doesn't call for rain this evening, I bet you it will. For two reasons. One, that's just my luck. And two, for the last, I don't even know how many weeks, it's rained, even if it's only for 2 or 3 minutes, almost every single day. So I need to find a spot that's flat enough that I can improve it to sleep upon, but also has enough overhead to pin my poncho to. One thing that is a little bit frustrating about this is I don't want to put my pack down yet. It'd be a lot easier to explore without it, but then if I have to find a spot, I have to go back and get it. And this is not easy to traverse. I don't want to be making trips. But once I find a spot, I'm definitely dropping this bag. Yes, let's see what's down there. Oh, I almost stepped on it. I found something neat. Tasty. Black raspberries. I think. Here's a neat little spot. However, although I could improve this with wood stacked across to make a level bed, there's animal dung in there. Not only would that be a potential health risk, I don't want to be in somebody's home when they come home tonight. Something small, but I don't want it crawling on me anyway. Well, no luck on the rocky slope. It's too full of holes and crevices and thorns. But I found this old overgrown trail. It's not part of the trail system up top. It's not marked. And definitely overgrown. Nobody's been through here in quite a while. Oh boy. I don't know if this is an old logging road or something, or for an old disused part of the trail system. I almost thought that was a blaze on the tree, but it's just lichen. Maybe an old logging road of some kind. Definitely easier walking. Path of least resistance and all that, but that also means it's more likely to be traveled by animals. Not that I'm overly concerned. Deer spooks me in the night, that's my own fault. But now, I know if I follow this trail back up, it'll intersect with the trail on the top of the ridge. So, that's good news. And I think I spy something intriguing down there. A little rock outcropping. May just be what I'm looking for. As I'm walking, I've been looking at soft spots in the earth like this, especially since it recently rained. I'm looking for tracks. I haven't seen any. No human, dog, deer, anything. Because if somebody did step down here, it would scrape. Of course, only if they stepped right there, but I've not seen any footprints on any of those kind of spots since I started. So, let's see what's going on here. Oh, money. And almost slipped and died, but here's what I was looking for. It's not a cave, really. No critter droppings that I can see. Vertical right here. I can try and pin my poncho to the top and angle it downwards for rain cover. Once I clear that brush and move that log, I can start building a rough bed to throw my sleeping mat on. So here's where I'll be for the next 23 and a half hours or so, because I get picked up at noon tomorrow. Sweaty. sweaty work. Tell you, if it was a day like yesterday, I might have quit already. But it's nice and cool here right now. Love it. So, the first thing I'm gonna do is real quick do some site preparation, clean it up a little bit, see what I'm working with, and then I'm gonna start trying to build a bed. Well, build a bed, lay a couple of sticks together for my mat to be on top of. It's mostly level. 5-star out here in the woods. But before I do that, it's almost a shame. These pretty little mushrooms right here. I don't know enough about mushrooms to tell exactly what they are, but I believe they're ghost pipe mushrooms. Here is a steel S-hook that I made. My dad and I got into blacksmithing. I haven't done as much as he has, but let's see if this will do what I want it to. Nope, too small. So what I'm going to do is tie a loop of cordage around this, hook my S-hook through it, then put my backpack on it. As far as I'm concerned, nothing in the world beats number 36 bank line for bushcraft. I built structures with these up in Alaska. I did an A-frame raised bed. It was my first video, actually. And I want to say a year and a half later it was still there, hadn't moved an inch. This stuff is great. So all I'm doing here, loop it back on itself, simple overhand knot, bring it up behind and back through itself. Then throw the hook on there. Easy as can be. Oh, this pack is probably about 40 pounds. I'm likely going to regret having brought so much with me, but that's part of this video is testing out what all I want to bring with me, what can stay at home because I didn't use it, and informs my gear decisions for future videos like this. Tell you what, whenever you're out in the quiet of the forest alone, every little crack sounds like it's something coming for you. It's just a bird flittering around in the trees. It's like during hunting season, every squirrel is the biggest deer in the woods. But got my pack hung. Just gonna clear out some debris, you don't need to see that, and then once it's over, start working on the bed. First dead battery of the trip. I've only got 3 more, no way to charge them, so I'll be very mindful. But I'm clearing out this little shelf, sort of leveling it out with rocks. I don't think I'm going to find enough dead branches that are not rotten to be able to do sideways slots for a bed, so I'm going to level this out as much as I can with stone, and then just throw a bunch of leaves and ferns and stuff on top of it. with what I'm doing here, it's impossible to be completely non-invasive. I'm trying to be as minimally invasive as possible. So I'm not running around breaking down trees and cutting down live stuff. Just moving a handful of rocks. I don't think I won't need anything more than 50 feet from where I'm already at. The hillside won't even notice. I've certainly done worse before. Sort of leveled it out. If I was just laying bare on that, it would kill me, probably. But doesn't really look any different from the hillside. But what I'm gonna do is go back up that trail to that big thick bed of ferns, start harvesting some of them to put in as padding underneath my sleeping roll. So here's an opportunity to put something to use. Maybe it could be useless. But I have this sweet little foraging pouch. Folds out. Might be able to stuff a big handful in there and then carry more back in both of my hands. Nifty little gadget. Let's get to it. Yeah, I'm not using that forage pouch. I've got a pretty big armful of ferns. We'll see how far it goes. It might be about half of what I need. But I have a ground mat to put on top of it. So it's not like I have to go super crazy with the ground padding. But I want to try and be as comfortable as I can out here. Because there have been times where I've gone out sleeping rough and don't sleep a wink the whole night. And the next morning is really not fun. And yeah, you can grin and bear it, but it is so much easier to move and to think and to work out here when you've got at least a little bit of rest. So we'll see how she goes. Well, let's see if that's enough. Like I was saying, it's probably going to end up being about half of what I need. But we'll see. Actually, if I could get this thing to stay rolled out, that might be perfect. Look at that. It's pretty comfy. It might not be a terrible night's sleep. All right. Now, definitely time for a water break, and I need some food. It's 12:40 right now, and all I've had today is 1 cup of coffee this morning. All right. Now that a lot of the hard work is done, I should be able to ration my water a little better. I have another large Nalgene about that big, plus about half of this left. And if it does rain tonight, I'll try and collect some rainwater. We'll see how that goes, but here's lunch. Emergency ration food bars, 2,400 calorie. Each 18-ounce packet contains 6 400 calorie food bars, providing a total of 2,400 calories. So each individual bar is 400. We'll see if this thing is even any good, because it looks pretty solid. Huh. Thought there were supposed to be individual packets. Smells like chicken feed almost. That doesn't look like individual packets to me. That is a food brick, or they were separate and fused together over time. Let's see if there's an expiration date on these. Well, expires March of next year. Not so sure how I feel about that, but that's very dry. Extremely dry. Doesn't taste all that bad though. Let's see what my food brick is. Apple cinnamon. I mean, I've certainly had worse. It would be nice if they were individual little crackers though. Of significant note, this particular food, if I'm eating it consistently, means my water intake will have to be much higher. I'm trying to estimate a couple hundred calories out of this. It's obviously they can't be broken off into their 6 400 calorie food bars. It's really not bad tasting. Kind of bland, but if I eat a third of this, that'll be 800 calories, which is pretty significant. I'm already eating and drinking like a wild animal. Spilling everywhere. I just saw a pretty cool sitting tree. Right up there, that branch comes out almost horizontal before it curves up. A very important thing out here is scent discipline. So all of my trash and any open food is going in Ziploc bags. Shouldn't have any trouble with bears out here. Even if they are in the area, they're black bears. Usually pretty skittish, but it only ever makes sense to be careful. I'm not worried about them. Even the grizzlies up in Alaska never bothered me. But that doesn't mean you get complacent about it. Alright, now it's time to put some overhead cover on my shelter here. It's mostly natural shelter, but I am going to pin my poncho up with rocks on the top, then probably hook it to some bungee cords on the bottom and send them out to some of these trees. Always close the hood of your poncho when you're trying to use it for cover. I'm going to start from the top. Now, because this is only secured at the top with a line of rocks, which, you know, it's a fair amount of weight, but because it's not anchored, I'm going to have to be very careful when I pull these corners out. If I put too much tension on them, it might pull the rocks out. Don't want that. Bungee cords, a woodsman's best friend. So it's looking like pretty decent overhead cover. It's a bit of a slant, so if it does rain, it'll roll off that back corner there. What I might try and do, though, if I can reach it, is get a cord wrapped around that tied up poncho hood and put it up to that tree to give it even more of a peak. But I'm kind of pushing it on the tension already. I don't want those rocks to slide. And I certainly don't want to run into this and knock the whole thing crumbling down. So I'll be careful. Well, I got her all set up. Oh, don't mind the swinging. You're being filmed from my backpack. I moved the bed a little closer to the edge here, just to get more cover from the rain if there is any. Oh, you get a nice side view. Panning shot. Yeah, not too bad. Now, if it does rain, hopefully the water will follow the slope of this rock going down that way. But if it does come towards me, I'll hit the top of that poncho and go down to the lowest corner. But it's not sealed at the top. So if water does get underneath it, hopefully it'll be caught by this little ledge and run down there. And if not, I'll just deal with getting wet. But all in all, pretty pleased with it. It's not very cold, at least not to me. Supposed to get down into the 50s tonight, which I think I'll enjoy. Finally put on a sweatshirt again. But yeah, the camp itself, this is kind of fun. The camp itself is set up now. I've had some food, I've had some water, I've got an overhead shelter, and I've got a bed. Now, I just have to decide what I'm going to do with the rest of my day. I got about 7-ish hours till sundown. I don't know what it'll be like on this side of the ridgeline, but let's see what I can come up with. Alright, so I built myself a really small fire pit. And with how wet everything is, I'm not really concerned about fire hazard. Plus I have it on stone, surrounded by stone. I'm going to keep it very small. Problem is, everything is damp. So even with these super dry sticks, I'm not sure if I can get it going. So, with careful preparation and some luck, I might just have a little fire. But like I said before, it's not it's not cold enough to need one for warmth. I'm not going to be cooking on it. It's just a little test. But as hidden as I am here, with the wind blowing along the ridgeline that way instead of up the hill, I think I can risk it. So for tinder, because there aren't very many options, found a branch, a dead branch, as high up on the tree as I could reach, and this is the driest piece of wood that I've found. So now what I need to do is try and scrape off very, very small fine shavings and use that as my tinder, and also very thin slivers as well. So that's what I'm talking about. Not really in focus, but nice little pile of shavings. But it's taken forever from this whole old dried wood. I don't know if it was just rainwater collected from this morning on the leaves falling in the wind, but hopefully it doesn't rain yet. Now, I could try and start this fire with a ferro rod, but everyone does that. I could start this fire with a lighter, but everyone does that too. I can't start this fire with a bow drill because I'm terrible at them. So instead, I think I'll do this. Something you don't really see shown very much is stormproof matches. I've used these things a handful of times, and let me tell you, it might surprise you. So I'm gonna put this fire together on this little platform that I built here and see what I can do. I keep saying that. I keep saying, see what I can do, see what I can do. Come up with better words, Ben. First up is the fine shavings. Very fine little curls. Don't have many, but it should be enough to at least ignite. That little piece of wood that I found, glad that it was dry, but whatever wood it was is very, very hard wood. It was hard to get these curls. Now I've got some split twigs for kindling. Give it a little structure. Fires this small, at least in my experience, are often harder to make than ones that are larger, just because you have so little room to work with. If I touch a stick wrong or lay a stick wrong, the whole thing will fall over before I can even try and get it lit. Micro fire. Nope, not even worried about that. 'Cause if I reach in for that stick, I will certainly destroy this. Okay. Now the downside to these, at least the ones that I have, is you have to have a striker strip, which is one reason why I use this little canister. I've got 2 striker strips in there, so it protects them from the weather and houses the strips. I've lit these before and then held it underwater and it still burned, so I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about knocking the thing over. Not quite enough. Not enough juice. And even that more dry wood that I found is still too damp, I think. Oh, maybe. At a very fragile stage. I've put out a lot of fires over handling them. Patience, patience, patience. Well, I don't want to run my battery or SIM card out, but without being too confident, I'd say that this is close to being stable. There's enough coals in there to blow to get flame, so we'll see how it looks in a few minutes. Well, I'd say that worked. Can you hear them sizzling? It was pretty smoky before, but now it's hot enough that there's not quite as much smoke, which is good, because if I'm trying to be a little stealthy, I don't need to be sending up a signal. That being said, I doubt that anyone's even out here to see or smell it, but it's about the practice. But even with damp wood, those stormproof matches, now granted it did take 3 of them, but they got it going. And now even these damp branches are drying out, hardly smoking at all. And I got a nice little fire. I've got my other wood stack there. Part of the trick of it is to stack it close enough to dry, but not too close so that it burns. Tidy little setup. What you thinking about? I don't know, just bushcraft stuff, I guess. Made my way up to the sitting tree. It's actually really comfortable. Guess instead of making a place to sit, I'll just sit right here. But also looking at my camp from the back, it's hard to see on the video just with how the GoPro is more of a close range kind of deal, but it's fairly well hidden. The biggest thing you can see is that sideways branch. Even the fire is really hidden, but the biggest thing you can see is that branch I used to hold my backpack and my other stuff. You can see that from above. However, there's a rock shelf right there. That is not the top of the ridge line. That is a secondary shelf further back. So even if you were on top of the ridge line, looking this way, you would see one shelf, maybe the second shelf, maybe, but you wouldn't see down below it. You'd have to come down here to actually see me, and I don't think anyone's doing that. But yeah, that is the only real visible part of my camp, at least from up there. Pretty happy with it. So I went exploring a little bit, found myself some stone tools. First and most obvious is this little rock here, that the way it broke off from a larger piece gives it almost like a single-edged knife blade kind of look. It's kind of neat. Don't know how well it'll work. Oh, shoot. Not bad. And focus. Nope. But I could use that to cut around all the different sides of a branch, and then it will break where you've worn it away. So that's neat. And I also found this has sort of a trench to it, a groove. And that right there is a mortar and pestle, which I'm going to try and put to use once the fire is completely burned out and cooled off. Take some of the charcoal, throw it in there, grind it up real fine, spit in it, and do some cave painting. That'd be kind of cool. Well, it's been a few hours. I'm not gonna lie, I just laid down and relaxed. Not really bored. Almost fell asleep, but didn't. But now it's time to make dinner. But I'm not making food in my camp because you don't want to draw critters in even if there's no bears in the area, there's still coyotes and raccoons and possums and all sorts of stuff, so better safe than sorry. So I'm walking downwind so that any smell that I make from dinner will keep blowing away from me, instead of leading critters to my camp. It'll lead them to this spot up here. One advantage of having 2 bottles is that I can ration my water for tomorrow. So this bottle, not to be touched, that's for coffee in the morning and water for the walk out. That leaves me this much, plus what's already in the pot for tonight. Now I see a lot of people do this differently, but how I was taught to light these camp stoves: ignite the flame first, then turn it on. Makes sense, right? Logical. But I've seen a lot of people turn the stove on, then light the lighter and bring it to it. Not saying it's ever caused an issue, but I'd rather not have the equivalent of a gas leak. So I always have the fire on first, and then turn the gas on. I know this trail is abandoned and disused based on the amount of overgrowth and the lack of trail markings, but it really feels weird after spending so many hours just down the slope, being around something man-made, no matter how long ago it was. I mean, yeah, I can still hear cars and planes and even a helicopter once. Almost thought they were looking for me. You can hear cows mooing and stuff in the distance, but you know, I can sometimes pretend that I'm actually in the wild. But then you see the trail. I feel like a trespasser. It's strange. No, I'm not the world's biggest fan of expensive camping equipment. I like to wear military surplus, as you can tell. From before my time. My military surplus is a little newer, but I don't like wearing that out in the woods. But titanium implements and a titanium pot have changed the game for me. It heats up quickly, it cools down quickly, easy to clean. Nothing beats it. I'm actually surprised that there aren't more stories of mountain men and women having one shorter leg than the other, having to go up and down and across the mountains and hills sideways. Well, that's 2 batteries down. Fresh one in the camera and 1 to go. Hopefully there's not too much more to film tomorrow on the hike out. It should be just fairly simple. If anything happens, I will turn on the camera and show you. Well, once I'm packed up here, I'll be good to go. But that being said, it's time to put these to use. I got the feeling with one little slip, I'm going to send all this charcoal dust flying. I have now refined charcoal into charcoal powder. And the next step, spit. Drooling on myself here, but that's normal. And there we have Johnny Halfstep, the mountain man. You can tell he's a mountain man because he has one leg shorter than the other. And let's go ahead and give him a walking stick. There we go, there's one. I feel like Johnny Halfstep is lonely, so let's go ahead and make him a mountain man wife. Suppose a mountain woman. Nice, beautiful dress. And her leg is shorter on the opposite side. You see, that's how she met Johnny. She was going to the right, he was going to the left. And that's the only way they could have found each other. Some nice, beautiful hair. There we go. Now, every good outdoorsy family needs a loyal companion, right? It's supposed to be a dog. It's looking more like a possum. But you know what? Maybe it is a possum. Maybe the family of these hills has a possum instead of a dog. And for my final edition, beautiful. And this is going to take a lot to clean up. Now, the story of the Halfstep family here might seem just like a silly little thing, which, to be fair, it is. But humans have been doing that for as long as we have existed. Finding inspiration in nature or telling stories and finding a way to mark it down for future generations. So if anybody ever comes across this, just know that Johnny and his family were very happy. Well, it's getting dark now, so I have one last thing to show you before bed. This very cool copper candle lantern. And oh, I need 3 arms. Go. And in the pitch black of night, I will have light. But not yet. We're sort of approaching twilight. Well, not a bad little setup, all things considered. Very minimal effort with a lot of relaxing. I'm pretty pleased with how today has gone. So hopefully the night goes as well. And I'll see you in the morning. Well, I can't sleep. And it's not because of animal noises. It's not because I'm uncomfortable. I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but it sounds like a fireworks show out there. What on earth could anyone be celebrating on August 1st? Unless I'm missing something. Just let me sleep. It's gotta be fireworks. It's lighting up the sky over there. Can't see on the GoPro. Good morning. I'm not gonna do the thing where I get up and set up the camera and then go back to my sleeping bag and pretend to wake up. So here's what you get. But I slept pretty well last night. Once I finally got to sleep, it took a while. A fireworks show last night. It was frustrating. And it was more hot and humid than I expected. I slept pretty well. I think I only woke up really twice. So I had pretty much 3 stretches of fairly uninterrupted sleep. It was pretty good. It's about 6:30 right now. No mice crawled on me, at least that I know of. I could hear him scratching around in the rocks behind, but nothing crawled in my sleeping bag. No larger critters crashing through the woods to wake me up. I did hear some coyotes in the distance last night. It's pretty cool. But yeah, this location, not only are there no people, which is nice, but there's very few animals. I've seen 1 squirrel and a toad. Everything else has been bugs or birds. Kind of surprised. There's not even really game trails or anything, at least in this little spot. Granted, it's fairly far from water and a very steep rocky slope, so it's not entirely surprising, but anyway, I'm gonna get up and make myself some coffee and start packing up camp. Back to the food brick. See if it goes better with coffee. That's actually delicious. All right, I've had my coffee now and I'm feeling great. Time to break this bad boy down and start hiking out. Bungee cords make everything easier, except walking on rocks. And there she is, all packed up. Time to get moving. I do think that I will come back here at some point, because it is a nice little spot, very isolated. And impossible to see from the ridge. Getting up towards the top of the ridge, and there's the sun. Yeah, this section of overgrown trail, I completely bypassed this by traveling down slope. I'm not saying that was easier at all. This trail is not used by anyone except little critters and me. Is that a squirrel making that racket? I cannot tell. Well, it wasn't a barking tree squirrel. They usually answer to that, but almost done with the hiking. I just met the first person I've ever seen hiking this trail. And in talking with him, I'm the first person he's ever seen hiking this trail. It's really not a high traffic area, that's why I like it. But old boy had a metal detector and a trowel, and he was looking for old metal implements on logging roads and stuff, and wild edible plants. That was really fun. birds of a feather. I stopped talking to him for probably 20 minutes. So, good luck to you, Greg. Tell you what, poor old knees are feeling it. The last day and a half have been pretty well a constant stair workout, going up and down and around the side of the ridge line. Now heading downhill, even on the trail again. Really feeling it. Well, my fourth battery is almost drained, and my SIM card is almost full. So probably won't have too much more to say anyhow, other than I need to bring a means of charging the batteries, or just get a whole bunch of spares and an extra SIM card or two. But if you've watched this far, thank you for putting up with me. If you like the video, like it. If you'd like to share it with your friends, I'd appreciate that. And you have a wonderful day. Get outside if you can. Some old boy down there is making a chainsaw roar. It's gonna be a funny shot. Always be sure to remove the desiccant pack from dehydrated meals. It's nasty if you leave it in there and pour boiling water on top. Oh man. When I get home, I'm gonna have a TDP, or a 2-day poop. Not to be confused with a TDP, a 3-day poop.